Hello and welcome to the Jan's Report today. I wanted to do a video about the dark side of communism as a follow-up video to my previous video. Do millennials support a communist regime? Before I go into the history of communism and the dark sides of it, I want to highlight that some aspects of communism can be good. For example, without communist ideas, you would not have compensation. If you were injured on the job in a complete capitalist society without regulation, you would probably be brushed aside. This can be seen in the early days of the Industrial Revolution, where people who worked in factories were not paid well and had to work long hours. An example of this is seen during the Gilded Age, which started in the early 1870s and lasted until the 1900s, where the businessmen controlled everything and workers were not compensated at all. This, of course, helped inspire Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels to write the Communist Manifesto after seeing the mistreatment of workers who toiled away in the factories. The Communist Manifesto would help provide the backbone of the creation of communism and would inspire leaders like Vladimir Lenin and Leon Trotsky to lead a communist revolution against Tsar Nicholas of Russia, who refused to grant basic human rights to his own people, who toiled away in the factories, but more on them later. The main points that Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels wanted to highlight was to move the power away from the factory owners and place them in the hands of the workers. They thought the best approach to do this was to put power in the hands of the state, who would control all aspects of life and become its own type of religion. This would be put into practice in 1917 when the Bolshevik Revolution broke out, led by Vladimir Lenin, encouraged the workers of Russia to rise up against the Tsar, who, as mentioned before, did not care about the well-being of his own people, and also due to other factors, such as the Russians losing badly to the Germans in the First World War. In 1923, the revolt concluded and established a communist regime in Russia, who immediately got to work establishing some control over private industry. Unfortunately, Vladimir Lenin died almost a year after he managed to take power and was replaced by the paranoid Joseph Stalin, who took communism to the next level. It is with Joseph Stalin that communism begins to take a dark turn, as he begins to introduce more state control. First, he begins to introduce farm collectivization, where he attempts to give the state complete control over all farms. In doing this, he begins to reduce competition in the new Soviet system and would essentially control the price of food and other manufactured goods. This, of course, is not the only thing that he did. He also began to silence those who spoke out against the state and those who once held private property and sent them to work in the gulags, the Soviet version of a concentration camp. Now, Stalin was not the only communist leader to follow the same path. Other leaders, like Pol Pot of Cambodia and Mao of China, killed millions of their own people who stood against them. To give you an idea of how many people that Mao and Stalin killed altogether, it totals to about 85 million people, excluding the amount of people that are killed by the regime of North Korea every day and also put into camps, even though North Korea continues to deny that such camps exist. As you can see, communism is bad, even though it is intended to take away power from the private rich elite, or the have and have-nots, mainly those who have tremendous wealth and the majority who are not so rich. The power still remains in the hands of the few, which in that case would be the government. Now, we all know that some people can be very greedy. Just look at Donald Trump and what he might do if he were the head of the communist government. He would most likely follow the same path and get rid of his opponents. Even though capitalism is unfair and creates a large income gap between the rich and the poor, it allows people the freedom of choice. The rich could choose to keep the wealth they accumulate, or they could donate it to charities, which most of them do. I will let you decide on which form is better: capitalism, which gives you free speech and an income gap between the rich and the poor, or communism, where everything is regulated and free speech is non-existent. Before I go, here's today's funny picture: the Pineapple Man. Oh yeah. If you like this video, consider subscribing to this channel and hitting the like button. If you have an idea for a video that you would like to see on this channel, leave a comment down below the video or visit our Facebook page and leave a comment. The link is in the description. I will see you on the next edition of the Jans Report.